Hello and welcome to another episode of the Next Gen podcast. I have the man, the myth, the legend, or probably more appropriately, the dad, the husband, and the friend, Taylor Miles, with me today. I think you're in for a real treat with this conversation with Taylor. We're going to talk about two things today. The first one's mental health, and that's something that a lot of people are passionate about. It's a very important topic, and it's one that we all need to take a vested interest in. I promise you, there are people in our communities, there's people next door to you that are struggling with mental health, and it's something that we all need to work on supporting each other better on. But then the second half of this conversation is going to be kind of fun because a uh, maybe not known thing about Taylor Miles is he is a hot sauce connoisseur. So we're going to dig into a little bit of some spicy topics called hot sauce. So with no further ado, Taylor Miles, thanks for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh man, it's so good to be on here, Nick. I really appreciate you inviting me. Um, so a little bit about me. I work for M&S EAP. We are an employee assistance program that's been around for over 40 years now. The words robust, white glove, I feel like they get used quite a lot in the industry, but we're definitely one of those that goes above and beyond. Mental health is our number one focus, whereas like with other EAPs, like they're kind of built in second thought, like back burner kind of stuff. But like this is what we do. This is what we're about. And mental health is definitely one of my two biggest passions, so to speak. So
No, absolutely. And one thing that I think would be an important thing to kind of dissect here is that, we when we're from my seat, I guess, from the broker consultant seat, we have Principal or Lincoln Financial or, all these different ancillary benefits that are out in different groups. And a lot of times they come with this, prepackaged EAP program. And I hear a lot of times when I ask questions about EAP, oh yeah, well that's part of our ancillary products. Um, and not knocking those programs because they're trying to drive a value. But can you explain a little bit of how you might be different from kind of a prepackaged EAP program that you might get as a kind of a no cost add-in benefit to some type of ancillary coverages?
absolutely. So with a lot of those like built-in EAPs, the individual usually gets like 3 to 5 sessions is kind of what it is. With us, we're at least 12 per individual and household member. So like an entire family of five could have 60 sessions in a year if they needed to. So it's taking it one step further that way. And then we
Mhm.
also, I mean, like in the package, we provide financial coaching, legal advising. There's some states that we can help with elder care services and different things like that. One of the things that came up a lot last year was our critical incident stress management. So there's a lot of companies. I actually received a few calls from brokers last year that, and I hate getting these calls, but I feel good being able to provide the help. But I had a few
Mhm.
brokers call in and say, I have a client that either had an on-site death or there was a suicide or a family member passed, something like that. And that company didn't have any kind of a mental health offering. But the broker remembered me and gave me a call, and I was able to like set that company up, get them the help they needed within 24 hours and actually
Wow.
have somebody on site to be there with the company. Um, it's one of those that a lot of companies they don't want to just check the box on mental health, but that's kind of what's happened is like you just really can't just check the box anymore. Like it's the conversation's out there. It was a buzz topic for the past 3 years for a reason.
Absolutely. And I would like to imagine that, kind of that speed and efficiency that you bring to the table, being able to deploy those assets very quickly, that probably makes a big difference in the outcome of the situation as far as getting people to help very quickly. Can you speak a little bit onto, some of the experiences that you've had or maybe your company's had about, by getting in front of people faster, was able to help people and really get them set on a good path?
Absolutely. So right now, kind of the trend for therapy, and this is kind of nationwide, is that a lot of folks can't get in to see a therapist for about 4 to 6 weeks. Like that's the national average right now. And I mean, if you're in a crisis, you can't wait a month to talk to a specialist. Like it doesn't help. Like you need it right now. And with us, like that's something that we really pride ourselves on. We've been building our own network of therapists for the past 40 years. And so in any state, we can usually get someone in to see a therapist either in person or virtually within 2 or 3 days at most. So like we can help them expeditiously. Let's cut that out. Like we can help them and get them the help that they need within a matter of days. And that's really important when it comes to like crisis and mental health, is that you can't sit on it. Individuals, like, they can call our 24/7 hotline. We can help triage the situation, find a therapist for them, get it set up virtually, or I mean, even on the phone call, there's a chance that we might be able to get them lined up with a therapist on the phone in a matter of minutes. Like it's one of those scenarios that like we really need to speak to the individual, let them know that this is completely anonymous, that their company's not going to know that it's them calling in or it's them booking the therapy appointments, because anonymity is another thing that really helps with this. And I mean, if an individual is struggling with substance abuse and addiction, they're not going to talk to HR, and they don't want their company to know that they're struggling with it, but we want to be able to provide the help for them to get them on the right path to recovery.
No, and that's absolutely huge. And you know me as well as anybody. Um, Rural America is where my heart's at, where I choose to serve. And when you talk about kind of a desert, a mental health desert, I know that the metros experience it too, but here in rural America, I think we've got it even worse. Um, you know, Distance being just one of the deserts right there. So people have to travel a little bit further. So services like yours can be extremely valuable. One thing you'd mentioned is being anonymous. And I think, when we're talking mental health and everything else, you're 100% right. But what are some of the tools that you do give employers? Because when an employer is making an investment in some type of employee benefit, one of the things they want to see is, are we getting an ROI out of this? So although you can't give names and details and everything else, what kind of information do you guys provide employers to help give them the confidence that spending the money on, an EAP program, mental health, is actually creating a return and that their employees are getting value out of it?
Yeah, so we provide a very detailed like utilization report that'll show like this is how many individuals were on the website this month. This is how many individuals like scheduled therapy, completed therapy, phone calls, all those kind of things. So there's the utilization side of things that companies can understand that way. But to take it a step further, we also have a very, very long list of different types of leadership trainings of like how to talk about wellness in the workplace, providing C-suites the tools in order to talk to their entire company about mental health. And there's so many different ways that we try to approach this to one, help increase utilization, but two, to spread awareness. Because
Mm.
I think with a lot of these kind of built-in EAPs, what we've seen over the years is that it's there in the background, and it's more of like a reactive care. It's like
Hmm.
if a
Yeah.
if an employee has a family member pass, like then it's like, oh, here's the EAP. With us, we try to be a lot more proactive. And that's what we need to see in the mental health world, is proactive care instead of reactive care. And that's what it's been for years. And so
Mhm.
we've partnered with different companies to provide like self-care apps, to provide anything we can to be on the front end of this. We want to help the individual really from the beginning instead of at the end, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
if they feel
Yeah.
like they are struggling with substance abuse and addiction, let's hit it now instead of a year from now when it's a real problem.
Well, and I think as employers, we have to be, that should be something that we're passionate about, even though we may not know this is going on. If there is somebody struggling with something like a substance and abuse issue, um, what day does that issue that they're experiencing eventually cross the line and come into your workplace and cause all kinds of other issues on top of just the human issue of somebody struggling? You know, One thing that I think would be super valuable is knowing some, I guess what I would call them is best practices. So if somebody's looking at implementing an EAP program and really taking a vested interest into mental health in the workplace, what are some best practices that you can share with us as far as, making sure employees know about it, being proactive about, educating on it, reminding people? Just share with us a little bit of what you've seen from some of the best and who, companies that have been the most successful.
Absolutely. So really where it starts is at the top. It's with leadership. And if leaders want to have a happy, healthy, like mentally healthy, robust company, that it needs to start with them. They need to start the conversation. They need to get in and express that like this is a safe place, that it's okay to struggle, that it's okay to not be okay, that
Mhm.
everybody has hard days. Because if you are the bottom rung employee, so to speak, and there is nothing there, there's no support system, there's no net, it means you're gonna fight this on your own. You're gonna be alone in this pursuit. And more times than not, that individual struggles even harder. And the way that we know this is because of presenteeism, absenteeism, these things that are popping up that we're seeing now. Um, Absenteeism has been on the rise for the past 3 years, and it's individuals using their sick days as mental health days, but it's because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to tell anybody about it. And then presenteeism, oh man, it costs the average employer about $1,500 a year in lost productivity per employee. And so presenteeism means that like you show up to work, but you're not there 100% in your brain. Like you're thinking about what you're anxious about, you're focusing on your depression, and then you're doing your work as kind of this like side quest. And so you're not giving it your all, you're not producing the best work, things like that. And so coming back to it, like that's where it really needs to start at the top. And I don't know if I can swear on here, but I always say that like I really want to work with companies that have leadership that actually give a damn. That
100%.
like that's where it starts, because everybody knows somebody that's struggling. Even if you think that you don't, you at least know somebody that does.
100%. I think it goes back to that old Jody Masita song. Your give a damn can't be busted. Especially if you're at the top, you have to care. And you highlighted a really kind of alarming statistic there: $1,500 per employee in a 100 life group. That's a six-figure problem. And that's, I'm sure to catch the attention of some business owners and leaders that, we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially due to just not taking a proactive approach. Now, one thing I can tell you, being the leader of a company, it's kind of lonely at the top. So I can see a ton of benefit not only in the rollout of these programs really coming from a top down, but have you witnessed, maybe you haven't, but have you witnessed some scenarios where you guys put something in and actually the first people to really get help with it came from the C-suite or the top of the company?
Definitely. We've had a few clients and I won't name names, and I won't say like company names or anything, but one
Yeah.
one scenario that came to mind, there was actually a CEO of a company that had been looking for like a mental health program for a while, and their daughter actually took her own life, and it really, it's hard to talk about, but the CEO basically was like, okay, I need something for me. I need something right now, and I need to get the help. And they talked to their broker. Broker talked to me, and we made it happen within a matter of days. I got the entire company enrolled. And honestly, like setting it up, getting in there, doing the onboarding, just talking to all of the employees. I mean, this was a great leader, and the entire company loved the CEO, and so they helped support them in their pursuit of this. And I mean, we saw utilization immediately with therapy, with like everything. Um, so it's one of those that, I mean, we hope that bad things don't have to happen, that it doesn't have to be a reactive activation, so to speak. Um, but I think the times are changing enough now that these leaders are starting to see it, and they know that it's not, they can't just check the box.
And that's such a great thing. Taylor, there's one more question I have on mental health. When we before we started and hit record, one of the things I told you is that I just when I do these podcasts, I know I'm probably not going to get a billion views, and that's okay with me. Really, my goal is to just get in front of one person and provide something valuable to them. So to wrap up our conversation around mental health, can you give us a handful of things that we need to be looking out for just as ordinary humans interacting with our community, our coworkers? What are a couple things that we can be looking for that are maybe some signs that somebody might need a hand up?
I love this question. And this is the stuff that I love to talk about all day, every day. And what it comes down to, and I call it my daily five. It's the eat, breathe, move, sleep, sun. Like you need these five
Mhm.
basics. Like those are the foundation to build everything else on. And I think that like we as humans, we were not designed for this type of life. We were not designed to be sitting in front of computers all day, eating fast food, like not working out, not being in the sun. And that's why I say these like basic five, is because that is not the way the world works right now. And I
Mhm.
think that most of us who struggle with anxiety, depression, insomnia, a lot of these things, it stems from that. And the more people that I talk to and the more people that reach out to me just to have conversations about this, it's, I can go through a list of questions and that are just like that. Like, are you eating well? Like, are you taking time for meditation, mindfulness, whatever it is? Like, are you out in the sun? Are you these things? And most of the time it's like, nope, no, no. And
Yeah.
and they get annoyed because it's like it's the easy things that we put off, that we don't, we're like, oh, that doesn't really help. I need to do something really hard to like get me there. You really don't. Like you got to start at the base. You got to start with the easy stuff. So as individuals, like there's definitely the signs of anxiety and depression. I mean, we know when people are struggling. And you either get a gut feeling, you can see it on their face. Like take time. My biggest piece of advice is don't give advice. Like just talk to them, listen to them, let them be vulnerable, share your experience. You be vulnerable as well. Like really open up, hear their story. Because I think a lot of people spend far too much time in isolation now. I mean, with the work from home, we don't get a lot of people interaction like we used to, you know? So give them an opportunity to talk and then encourage them to eat, breathe, move, sleep, sun.
That's awesome. And to kind of wrap up this particular part of our conversation, A friend of mine, Brent Pullman, who's a CEO of a company here in Nebraska, wrote a book, and I'm going to butcher it, but I believe I don't have it in front of me. I believe the title is "Lead from the Heart." And if I'm butchering that, I'm sorry about that, Brent. But I've read the book, and one of the most things that stood out most to me is in order for us to be leaders in our communities, in our families, in our workplace, one of the things we have to do first is we have to be able to lead ourselves right. So if you can't lead yourself, it's hard to lead others. So I guess I would leave that as the challenge, is to make sure that you take time, do those 5 things, get out there, get moving, get some sun, um, eat, sleep, breathe. It's all pretty basic things, but unfortunately, we don't take enough time for a lot of those activities. So that is a hard topic for a lot of people. Mental health is one of those things. There's some taboo around it. It's not a fun conversation to have. So, kind of want to end this podcast or the last half of this podcast with something on a little bit of a lighter note, but a highly spicy one. How does a guy get into hot sauce? Like, I
Oh
didn't know that
man.
was a thing.
Yeah, this is always fun to talk about. So really what started it was about 8 years ago. I had a friend who was actually he was working on his PhD at the college that's in our hometown here. And he moved here and we always made the joke that like the spiciest thing in Utah is fry sauce, which is really just like mayonnaise and ketchup mixed together. That's what it is.
Yep.
So he was like, I've got to find stuff other than the basic generic brands that I won't say out loud here because I don't want to get in trouble. So he started making some stuff in his kitchen and like sharing it with us. And I really just I wanted to help him. This was his passion. And so we helped him cook, bottle, label, kind of got him started at the farmer's market, and then it took off. And it's been feels like I'm holding onto a rocket ship right now because like over the past 8 years, like I'm now one of the partners, like one of the owners of the company. We're winning national awards for our hot sauces. And I mean, we're up against the biggest names in the industry. Like it's just wild.
That That is a wild story. So, one question I have to ask: Did he finish his PhD, or is he all in on hot sauce?
No, he finished it. And so that's actually like with some of our sauces, like we've played with the pun. So there's the Dr. Scoville's Wonder Tonic. Like we really leaned into that. And like his email is Dr. Scoville. Like it's all over the place. And so it's cool to have that like the doctor, you know?
Well, and it definitely makes it more reputable. Um, so you mentioned Scoville. I think I've heard that a lot of times that hot sauce in peppers and all that other stuff is determined on Scoville. I don't really even know what a Scoville unit is. Can you explain that a little bit, just more for my curiosity?
So yeah, and not to like the best way to explain it without using like big scientific terms and jargon is like capsaicin is the chemical in peppers that is like spicy.
Mhm.
And so a Scoville unit is how many units of water does it take to dilute the capsaicin until it's undetectable, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
as an example, like a jalapeno is roughly 2,000 to 8,000 Scoville units. And it just means that like you would have to add 2,000 units of water to dilute the spice of this one jalapeno is what it is. So,
That is
um,
interesting. I did not
yeah.
know that. It does make complete sense. So when you're looking at making a hot sauce, what considerations, like how do you come up with all the different things that go into it? Like I'm still questioning who came up with putting mango and habanero together. But you use fruits, you use different peppers. Walk me through a little bit of how you figure out all these different ingredients and how you bring them together.
Lots of time spent in a kitchen. And it's, gosh, I can't even tell you how many times I've like sweat or cried or just had to go outside and breathe because of how many hot peppers I've eaten. When you break it down, like it really is just as much a science as it is an art. A lot of the kind of mainstream hot sauces are very vinegar based. That's why they're so runny. Like it's very, you can tell when you eat it, like it feels like vinegar. With us, like we focus far more on like the small batch. We want huge flavors and we don't want to destroy you. Like that's not our goal. We don't want to use the hottest hot because you won't come back. Like we want you to be able to have enough hot sauce to like eat it on every bite through the meal. And so we do use a lot more extra ingredients that aren't insanely spicy. I mean, like in the Wonder Tonic, we actually use carrots, like which is very unique. Like
Interesting.
it helps carry that habanero, like the fruitiness of the pepper. And it's stuff like that that's just it's a lot of research and development. And we've got notebooks and notebooks and notebooks full of like, do not combine this pepper with this vegetable or fruit. Like there's so many like that was awful. Do not do it again. So yeah.
I was sitting there thinking about it. Like, I'm sure there's been a scenario where you woke up in the middle of the night and realized, hey, I need to write this down because, don't do this, or I need to try this or whatever else. So, one of the things I know about you is you like to use a little AI here and there. Have you guys used AI yet to create a hot sauce?
We've definitely fed a few different like recipes in there, and there's a few that we've tried that it spit out. AI doesn't have a tongue, so it just doesn't understand that like you can't put Carolina Reapers and scorpion peppers in every sauce. It like it you feed the AI and it's like, oh yeah, let's go to the extremes. And it's like, whoa, 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 buddy. Like you gotta slow down. We don't want to ruin people.
Uh, and that's the thing. Like, I love spicy food, but I will tell you every day that like I don't want it to hurt. Like that's my thing. Like I like spicy, but I don't want to sit there and sweat through my whole meal because it is so hot. You mentioned things like a Carolina Reaper and a scorpion pepper and stuff like that. Can you give us a little bit of an education on peppers? Like as far as are they, when I think of it, I think there's a habanero, there's a chili, and there's a jalapeno. Um, are they all, is there kind of a class of peppers and then there's, fingers that come down with different peppers inside that class, or how does that work?
It's such a cool topic because there's so much science behind it. And if you look into the history of the world, like every culture has some type of spicy dish built into it. And I mean, over the past 50 years, that's where we've seen the hottest peppers. There's a guy based out of North Carolina named Ed Curry, and he's the one that holds the world record for creating the world's hottest peppers. I mean, the Carolina Reaper, Pepper X, his latest is called the Apollo pepper. And I mean, these are the new Apollo pepper is roughly like 3 million Scoville units in and of itself. Like
A lot of water.
the Carolina Reaper was 1 million, and it's insane how hot and spicy things have gotten, and it's because of him and a lot of the guys in the industry that are like cross pollinating. I mean, if you look at like the Fatali pepper, that one's actually based out of Africa. Like that's where it came from. There's the Scotch bonnets. There's the red devil's tongues out of Italy. Like it's every country kind of has a different version of their hot pepper, and it's a lot of them. Like there aren't really classes, so to speak, but every single one of them has gotten a Scoville unit. And so you can put it in kind of a range of like mild, medium, hot, extra, and super hot. So I think it's fascinating. And every culture has kind of experienced this on their own. And it's the effects of capsaicin because and this is I'll kind of take us on a tangent here, but it also gets back to the mental health part of it. But capsaicin, what it does is it triggers a chemical in your brain, and it's the fight or flight response. But since there's no real threat, it changes that chemical into adrenaline, endorphins, serotonin, all of the happy chemicals. And
Okay.
so there's a certain percentage of the world population that when they eat hot food, when they have capsaicin, they experience a euphoria, that like runner's high. Have you ever eaten something so hot that like you felt just kind of that like weird blur in your brain? I mean, like, yeah, there's pain in your mouth, but you're feeling that like almost out of body experience,
Yes,
so to
yeah, I
speak.
was I
Yeah,
was just gonna say that. I have once or twice eaten something and it's like, whoa.
yeah.
That's different.
And see, like every culture has that built into it of like this is the dish that like can help you like communicate with the gods or like see things. Like it is one of those that capsaicin can have that effect on the brain. And so I'm always talking about like the mental health benefit world, but also the benefit of hot sauce and mental health. Like if you're feeling like you're having a day just full of funk, like you're down, whatever it is, seriously, grab some hot sauce, like something hot, not that's going to destroy you, but something hot, and have a little bit of hot sauce and like let the pain roll in, get the chemicals going, and then 10 minutes later, check in with yourself. Because I bet you anything, it's going to take you from here to at least here. And for a lot of us that like really love the hot sauce, we can go from here to through the moon, you know? Um, and then like I could always dive into the health benefits of hot sauce. Like it's man, I could go on forever, but we don't have a ton of time on that. But like that's I really wanted to talk about that because that's
No,
why I'm known as the mental health and hot sauce guy. So
you know what? I'll just ask the question because that's where I was going. Is one of the things I wanted to understand is that, I do know there's some health benefits connected to capsaicin and hot sauces. Give us a little insight into that. That's, I mean, at the end of the day, this is I'm in the health insurance world, always looking for ways for people to be more healthy. You gave us some great tips on mental health, but how does hot sauce actually impact your overall health?
oh man, there have been so many studies done that show that like eating hot sauce with your meal can help with weight loss because it slows you down. You're not devouring fast, like you have to like pace.
Hmm.
It helps reduce um, like the chances of developing type 2 diabetes. Helps with hyperinsulinemia. Um, Hot sauce is also packed with like vitamin A, vitamin C, all of these other vitamins. Now keep in mind, like you do have to eat a lot of hot sauce to get those like vitamins and minerals, which for a person like me, like I'm probably actually getting some benefit from it. But like the person that does like just a little on their eggs in the morning or something, they're probably not getting like a huge effect from it. So I can't preach that too heavily. But one of the things that I do love to talk about is the anti-inflammatory effects that hot sauce does have. There's a lot of studies that have been done that like if you're feeling like muscle aches, joint aches, if you're having like constant headaches, things like that, hot sauce can really help with the anti-inflammatories. It actually helps increase blood flow. Um, there's a lot of really good like physical health benefits as well as mental health benefits.
That is awesome. So I think what I heard is that Taylor Miles is endorsing Taco Tuesdays with extra hot sauce and a spicy margarita.
I will
Uh,
always.
Always
That's my
endorse it.
go-to. That's my
I love
go-to.
it. I love it. So, well, Taylor, to kind of wrap up this conversation in a big thank you. I think we covered some fun stuff. We covered some very important stuff, and I think we're hitting the mission of the Next Gen podcast, which is hopefully helping just one person, give them some insights, some tools that they need, or whatever else. If somebody was interested in following, a hot sauce savant and mental health warrior, how do they follow you? And then also make sure that you please share if somebody wants to go check out Bear River Bottling, the name of your company, and maybe order some hot sauces, how can they do so?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely like message me on LinkedIn. That's one of my favorite go-tos. I love LinkedIn just for the connection part of it all. You can also find my email address and my phone number on there. I will be going to a few of the like industry conferences. So I'll be at UPowered and Benefits Pro for sure. Rosetta Fest later in the fall. So I'm definitely going to be at those. If you do attend those shows, I will definitely have hot sauce with me. So come and talk to me, and maybe you can score a free bottle of hot sauce. But if you are interested in buying some hot sauce, we do have our website. It's just www.bearriverbottling.com. Check out our latest flavor. It's called the Cajun Ghost Story. It is such a fantastic sauce with such a huge flavor, but it's hot. It's hot. I'll let you know that for sure. So,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, well, again, want to thank Taylor Miles for joining me today. As you guys know, mental health is something that I'm passionate about. It's one of those things that we've allowed to be taboo for too long, and it's something we need to be serious about. And then, I hope you also got a little bit of a kick out of the spicy thing, no pun intended there. But there's a lot of benefits to hot sauce we found. And so make sure that you enjoy your Taco Tuesdays. Invite somebody that you think might be struggling, that might just be what they need is some time away to just enjoy, have a good meal, and really focus on themselves. So with that being said, thank you for joining the Next Gen podcast, and we'll see you next time.